Hi everyone, welcome to our first tutorial as part of a series of tutorials I'm going to be posting where we're going to go through the AQA Maths specification. The first topic we're going to be talking about here is adding and subtracting simple fractions, and that will form N1 in the AQA spec. So let's start off with a simple equation. So we've got 1 over 4 plus 2 over 4. Now what's the answer to this problem here? So if we first try to represent 1 over 4 as a diagram, it might look something like this. So we've got a circle here split into 4 equal pieces, and the reason we select 4 is because of this. This is the denominator of the fraction, but that's just a fancy way of saying the bottom number of the fraction. So because of this 4 here, that's the reason we've split this circle into 4 equal pieces, and we're saying we're selecting 1 out of those 4 pieces. So this top number is known as the numerator, but again, that's just a fancy way of saying top number. So this bottom number determines how many pieces we're splitting our circle into, and this top number is determining how many pieces we're selecting out of those 4. So in this case, we're selecting 1. The same here, so we've got 4 here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're selecting 2 out of those 4. And because there's a 4 here and there's a 4 here, we know that the answer must also be out of 4 pieces. So then what do we do? So we've got 1 piece here and 2 pieces here. We see that we're adding the numbers together, so we end up with 1 from here and the 2 from here. So that gives us a total of 3 out of 4. And that's the answer to the question, 3 out of 4. So let's move on to something else now. So let's move on to a subtraction. So we got 4 out of 6 minus 2 out of 6. So we're going to do the same thing we did last time. We're going to start off by drawing our circles. And you can see here that instead of 4, we got 6 equal pieces now. And that's because now we got 6 on the denominator. And for the first number, we're going to select 4 out of those 6 pieces. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And for the second number, we're going to select 2 out of those 3 pieces. So we got 1 and 2. So what does that mean for the answer then? So we're going to start off by taking our 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're going to subtract these 2 blue pieces from them. So I'll get rid of 2 here. And that leaves us with, of course, 2 out of 6. Or 1 over 3. How do we go from here to here? This is a process known as simplifying the fraction. And what we do is we find the highest common factor of both 2 and 6, and we use that to simplify it down. So for example, the highest common factor of the highest common factor, or HCF, of 2 and 6 is 2. And that's because 2 is the largest number that goes into both 2 and 6 that results in a whole number. So what do? We take 2 over 6 and we divide the top by 2 and we divide the bottom by 2. And that gives us 1 over 3. So this is known as the simplest term. And all that means is that there's no HCF that goes into these to reduce these numbers further. The only factor that these two numbers share now are 1. So let's move on to the next example. So now we've got a bit more of a complicated example. So we've got 2 over 4 plus 3 over 4. So if we do the same thing as before, we draw our circles. So we're back to 4 equal pieces, and we're selecting 2 here. And we're selecting 3 here. So if we add these up in the answer then, so we got the 2 from the first part. 1, 2. And then we've got the 3 from here. So 1, 2, and then we don't have any more space for this third remaining piece. So we put this third remaining piece in this next circle. So what does that mean for the answer? So like before, because we've got 2 4s on the bottom, we know the answer is going to have 4 here on the bottom. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces this time. So that means the answer is going to be 5 out of 4. But you can also write this as 1 whole 1, because we've got 1 circle that's completely full, and 1 out of 4 here. So when you write something like this, this is known as a mixed number. And the reason it's called mixed is because we have one whole number and we also have a fraction. So whenever we write something like this, for example, like 4 and 3 out of 7, this is a mixed number. And when we write it like this, where the numerator is bigger than the denominator, i.e. the top number is bigger than the bottom number, then this is known as an improper fraction. And the reason it's improper is because normally we shouldn't have the numerator bigger than the denominator. And that means that it's actually one whole piece at least, and then another fraction. So, next question. So the next question is another subtraction. We're going to be looking at 11 over 8 minus 3 over 8. So if we go back to drawing our circles, so you can see here, like we discussed in the previous slide, we've got an improper fraction, and that's because the numerator is bigger than the denominator. So that means that we know we're going to fill at least one whole circle here. So if we take the 11 pieces, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then we're going to take 9, 10, and 11. So you can see that the 11 over 8 has filled up one entire circle and has 3 pieces in another circle. So you could also write this fraction as 1 and 3 over 8. And we're subtracting 3 over 8. So this one's pretty simple to draw. 1, 2, 3. So if we were to subtract this from this, what we would result with? We would result in a circle with 8 full pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So what would that look like as an answer? So we know again that the answer is going to be over 8 because these two numbers are both 8. And we've got 8 pieces full here, so that gives us 8 over 8. In other words, this answer is 1 because this circle is entirely full, and that means the answer is 1. So that's going to be it for today on a simple tutorial on adding and subtracting fractions. Next week we're going to be looking at slightly more complicated examples where the denominators of both numbers are not the same. So we might go through an example where it's like 3 over 5 plus 2 over 10, for example. And how would you deal with an equation like this? And how would you get the answer? So thanks for watching. And yeah, tune in next week for the next tutorial. Thank you.